We are at the halfway point, or slightly past it, or really close to it, of this year's IPL. So these are the first emotionally truthful power rankings that we have done. I mean, it's still just us throwing crap at a wall, but now we have dissected the feces afterwards. The rankings are not a points table. One of those already exists. We're looking at strength of schedule, recent form, the next matches, and then just making the list up from there. Today, we look at each team's batting by phase.
You want to swing wildly at the internet like you've got the new pill in your hand, but you keep getting dead battered. Find the movement you want with NordVPN. They are our protection against terrifying cyber threats and wide-batted geo-blocks. NordVPN will help you get through any rights restrictions so you can watch all the cricket you want. We aren't always happy with the wickets we're on. Sometimes we need a change. NordVPN can switch your virtual location so your IP address is ready to cash in. So if you need to get around the internet's rules, or I suppose in our case laws, select NordVPN. They can help you watch a game on a cheaper stream in another country. Give NordVPN the ball and let them penetrate all your vast internet issues. Because if you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. You can also receive a 20GB daily data voucher. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a big hitter is coming for you at nordvpn.com/KIMBER right now.
Gujarat won versus KKR and won versus Delhi. They chased down over 200 against Delhi and then defended 198 against Kolkata. They lost a combined 6 wickets in both matches. Their top order has been automatic. Their power play batting because of that has been incredibly consistent. Although they're a bit slower than other teams, that is by design, and they make up for it by losing barely any wickets at all. Plus, it means they have a very high floor, so there haven't really been any games where their batting against the new ball has put them massively behind. Sai Sudarshan averages 203 in the power play so far with a strike rate of 148. Shubman Gill is averaging 39 at a strike rate of 144. But the real deal is their middle overs batting, which is kind of what they're trying to do here. They start accelerating and are among the best teams in the competition in terms of both average and strike rate in this period. Josh Butler has a strike rate of 170 from overs 7 to 16, while averaging 129. While Gill is averaging 64 at a strike rate of 158. It's a hell of an engine room, and when your middle order is being carried by your top order, it's a lot of fun. Because of this, they haven't really had a bad game at the death yet, though they couldn't chase 62 of the last 4 overs against Punjab. So they either finish games really early or do a good job in this period of the game. Shafane Rutherford has faced the most deliveries, 53, averaging 17 at a strike rate of 157. When Butler has been at the death, he's been scoring at 12 runs and over. They could not be in a better situation at the moment. Their next game is at Rajasthan, then versus Sunrisers, and at Mumbai. They should really win their next 2 games, and that's it. At that point, they're pretty much locked off a playoff spot, and also they're looking for a top 2 finish. RCB won versus Punjab and lost versus Punjab. A very good win and a very bad loss. But they have maintained their perfect record of 100% wins away and 100% losses at home, which is the most important thing. They were dangerously close to breaking their 49 all-out record before Tim David went a bit nutso, and they chased down 158 in Mullanpur fairly easily. Phil Salt has been absolutely destructive in the power play, striking 185 and hitting a boundary less than once every 3 deliveries. Virat Kohli's done very well playing second fiddle to him, getting out just twice and striking 148 in the power play. Devdutt Padikkal also stepped up and batted with pretty good intent against Mumbai and Punjab when Salt had got out early. Their middle overs batting has been a little bit more of a mixed bag. They're fine while chasing, with basically Kohli doing the majority of the work, but they've now failed in the middle period thrice at home, all in the first innings. However, batting first was not a problem in Chepauk or Wankhede. Rajat Patidar, 159 runs, 40/154 are his raw numbers, has been very crucial in the middle. Liam Livingston's form was a bit of a concern, but he was actually dropped for Romario Shepherd in their last game. As far as finishes go, Tim David has been pretty good for RCB so far. He scored 85 runs off 39 balls and has been dismissed just once from overs 17 to 20. He's kind of carrying RCB at the death on his own. Their next 3 games are versus Rajasthan, at DC, and versus CSK. So that's 2 of the poorer teams at home and 1 of the better teams away. So let's just assume they lose the Delhi game. They're going to break their curse at home, surely. They should be going 2-1 in this period. The Delhi one is a little bit trickier, but because of the other games, this is a pretty good run coming up for them. The Delhi Capitals lost at Gujarat and won versus Rajasthan. They kind of stole the game versus Rajasthan, so it's good to give them credit for how they played. I honestly thought they should have won that game a lot easier anyway. But it was a bit of a coin flip game. And even the game after that, where Royal Taratia finished it off in 2 balls, they did need 10 off the last 6. Of recent times to me, they just don't look like the same team that raced away to 4-0. And a lot of the issue that we've had so far is their power play batting. They were 58 for 4, 39 for 3, and 46 for 2. Now, Karanaya has partially changed that, and it's a good injection to a team that was already playing pretty well. If he could shore up the top, their middle is not too bad. In fact, they've managed to score pretty quick without losing wickets. KL Rahul has got 170 runs, an average of 57, a strike rate of 160, and heaps of other players have chipped in as well. At the death, DC have had 3 great performances, 2 decent ones, and 1 bad one versus Mumbai. Ashutosh and Tristan Stubbs are completely doing their work. And if you remember back to earlier in the season, Ashutosh actually won them a game. They're playing at LSG versus RCB and versus Kolkata. Those are 3 fairly tough games. With Delhi, I'm just trying to work out, I think they've had 3/4, depending on how you look at the Mumbai game, fairly close games. They could have a much better record or a much worse record. So it's hard to tell if they're like a 6-1 team or if they're like a 4-3 team or even a 3-4 team, which seems a little bit unlikely. The next 3 games, though, tell us an awful lot. They have beaten Lucknow and RCB in this season, but they are playing 3 teams who all expect to make the playoffs from here. This is tricky for them. And it doesn't get much easier. They've got 1 game versus Sunrisers, and every other game is a side who has a realistic chance of making the playoffs. Maybe Kolkata the least, but Kolkata are going to be pushing for it. It's actually quite a tricky run home for Delhi from here. If they go 1-2 in these next few games, they'll be 6-4. And then if they go 50% from then on in, they're in a really good position. If they could somehow manage 2 wins out of this, and 2 of these games are at home, I think I'd feel a lot more comfortable with them. They shouldn't miss the playoffs because they're 5-2, but it's such a tricky run home. I don't think you want to flirt with it. You just want to make sure that you at least split the next 2 games and then hopefully beat KKR. Lucknow won versus Rajasthan. Just the 1 game this week. And they did it without Mitchell Marsh and Nicholas Pooran. Well, with them, but without them. Aiden Markram, a very good impact sub of Ayush Badoni, and Abdul Samad did their work there. Of course, they were playing Rajasthan, but still, that win holds up. Overall, in the power play, Marsh scores 10 runs and over while averaging 87.5, combining speed with a ridiculous level of consistency so far. Markram has been pretty solid as well, averaging 40 and striking 154, and Pooran, who's batted earlier than we normally see him, also doing well. But obviously, when it comes to Nicky P, it's the middle overs. If there isn't a significant drop-off in his form, he's on course to have one of the all-time great seasons. He averages almost 50 while scoring at over 2 runs a ball so far this year. That would have sounded unbelievable a few years ago, although it does feel like teams have started to aim at the bottom of his leg stump and it's causing him some issues. Unfortunately, Rishabh Pant is the one they spent a lot of money on, and he's the one who's just not working at all. Abdul Samad has been really good at the end of the games, 72 off 34 balls. He's been dismissed 4 times, but certainly doing his job. David Miller has faced a lot of balls, but he's going at a strike rate of less than 150. Their next 3 games are versus Delhi, at Mumbai, and at Punjab, which is an away game in that they have to travel somewhere else, but it's kind of an away game for both teams. That's a pretty challenging set of fixtures coming up. But if they go on a winning streak here, it will set them up in what looks like a very competitive league at the moment. That said, after these 3 matches, they actually go up against RCB and then Gujarat as well. Their next 5 games are really tough. Because they're 5-3 at the moment, they have a little bit of a cushion. They can go 2-3 in that period of time and not slip away completely. But this is the toughest part of their season. They don't have another easy game until the last game against the Sunrisers. So let's say they do go 2-3 in this run, just because it is quite tricky. That means they will be 7-6 with the last game against the Sunrisers. Winning 2 games out of 5, if you are a legitimate playoff contender, shouldn't be that hard. The real question has to be, is that what they are at the moment? And we probably find that out over the next 5 games. If they do end up battling for a playoff spot, it's the CSK loss that is the one that is going to cause them all the issues. Mumbai won versus CSK and won versus Sunrisers. And they're back to their winning ways. But remember the teams I just read out, CSK and the Sunrisers. We said this was a soft period of the schedule for them. Still, well done to them. They've now won 3 in a row, but this was the easy time. They decided to chase after winning the toss both times, and they are now a genuine playoff team. In fact, looking at their schedule, I'd say they're a very good chance of making the playoffs. Before the CSK game, Rohit Sharma was in terrible form, other than the fact he kept scoring slightly higher than the previous innings. He was averaging 19 in the power play at a strike rate of 152, and he only made it to the end of the power play once. Rickleton has spent a lot of time batting in the power play and is averaging 39 with a strike rate of 145. He looks good and you think, oh, he's batting really well today. And you look at his strike rate, it doesn't quite match the impact at times. And he certainly gets stuck against spinners in the power play. He feels very dot ball six or wicket when he's facing them. After the first two games have been pretty solid through the middle phase. There have been occasions when one or more of their batters have gotten stuck, but that hasn't been an issue in the last three wins. Sky averages 56 at a strike rate of 175 between overs 7 to 16 this year. Tilak has also been a constant run getter. He's been their top scorer in a few games. His strike rate of 140 is a little bit lower than normal, but nothing to concern yourself in the middle overs. They just haven't managed to kick on at a death all that much. Naman Dir's strike rate of 186 is the highest amongst batters, but they've scored at less than 10 runs and over quite consistently in that period. Their next three games are at Sunrisers versus LSG and at Rajasthan. That's a potential of 3-0 again. They could go 6-0 in this period. They should beat the Sunrise. They're playing two poor teams away and they're playing the better team at home. It's a really, really good combination of teams. And even if they manage to lose to Lucknow or even lose one of the away games, 2-1 puts them at 6-5. That's still a very good position to attack. But that is the end of their good run because they then play Gujarat, Punjab, and Delhi for their last three games. So, realistically, being 7-4 is way different than being 6-5, even if it's just a one-game swing. If they really push themselves to the next three games and they can pick up those wins, they will probably qualify. If they don't, they're playing good cricket, but it might be a bit of a scrap towards the end. And one other interesting thing for me here is that Lucknow is currently ahead of them, but these two teams are playing against each other. So that is a huge swing game if Mumbai can beat them. Punjab lost versus RCB, won versus RCB, and won versus KKR. After their bowling struggled a lot in their first 5 games, they've actually started to pull back a little bit at the moment. But let's be honest, on most days, they would have lost that game against KKR. After reducing RCB to 42 for 7 in the rain-shortened game, they still needed to get 42 off 32 with 6 wickets in hand. But Nihal Wadira did well to finish that one off. Batting in the power play, Priyansh Arya and Prabsimran Singh have been intense monsters, I suppose. Is that a phrase? It's a phrase now. Punjab have crossed the 70 mark 3 times, while scoring less than 50 only once. Apart from their last 2 full 20-over matches, they've always scored at 9 runs or over from over 7 to 16. And a big reason for that has been Shreyas Iyer, who has struck at nearly 175. The issue they have is when he doesn't score runs, they look very fragile. Which is weird because Wadira has actually been their top run scorer in this phase of the innings. But it really is those two or bust. Shashank Singh has been the main man at the desk, scoring 83 of 49 balls without being dismissed. His last innings was the slowest innings of his entire career, but we can allow him that because of how good he's been throughout the rest of the season. We've also seen Marcus Stoinis and Marco Janssen step up at times as well. They're playing at KKR, at CSK, and then versus Lucknow. So 2 away games against teams that aren't exactly setting the world on fire, although Kolkata's playing a little bit better. And then their remaining home games are actually at Dharamshala. So that's a little bit awkward as well. I think for this period, they really need to go 2-1 because I'm a little bit worried that they're not as experienced or as settled as some other sides. So if they do manage to lose a couple of games in a row or even lose 2 games out of their next 3, they might kind of lose the energy that they've got at the moment. So I think this is a very crucial time. It's a tricky one because at KKR is a difficult game. At CSK on paper should be quite easy. And then they're playing Lucknow, but not at home. So it's a slight different change there. So it's almost kind of like 3 different away games coming up. This might be a tricky part of the season for them. And I actually mean the entire next 6 games could be really interesting because they only have 2 soft games out of the 6. And also on top of that, they have this weird home thing going on. So if they don't do well in the next 3 games, it could spiral for them. KKR have gone 0-2, losing to Gujarat and at Punjab. And they've had the worst kind of losses, right? They were 62 for 2 in 7.3 overs while chasing 111 against Punjab. And they did not win that game. After that, they just looked lifeless against Gujarat. I know Gujarat's a good team, but, you know, you had to poke them with a stick to make sure that they were actually with us. It ended up not being as bad on that run rate, but emotionally, it was much worse than that. I think we have mixed feelings about their power play this season. I was talking about it early on. We did a feature on the main channel where I was like, I just don't think this is the final 3 that they're going to go in with, or that there are going to be changes made at one point. And we've had our first change. Quinton de Kock made early runs and then just lost all form. So they actually have had a couple of really good starts versus Lucknow and Chennai, but they were 41 for 4 against Mumbai. And apart from those outliers, they've been more or less all right. It just doesn't feel that safe. Ajinkya Rahane has been absolutely brilliant when he's come in the power play, averaging 155 at a strike rate of 178. Clearly the standout for them. Raghavanshi has also done well in that period. I'm not sure you really want your number 3 and your number 4 to be the best guys, though. Narayan's been Narayan. It's sometimes been good and it's sometimes not been good. But the middle overs, which really should be their strength as a team, is where they've lost games with the bat. Their issues against spin have been there for everyone to see, most notably in the game against Punjab. But they've lost 5 wickets in the middle in 3 other games as well. None of their batters with at least 50 runs in this phase of the innings averages over 25 or strikes above 130. We don't really have a lot to say about their death batting because they don't always make it to the end of games. They struggled against RCB, did well against Sunrisers, decent against LSG, and the last game was basically done once Andre Russell was out. Their next games are versus Punjabs, at DC, and versus Rajasthan Royals. They're still in the competition, and I think they're a good enough side if things actually start to come together for them. They could string a bunch of wins in a row, but it would have to be a lot of wins. We're talking about 5 wins and 1 loss, really, at this point, aren't we? And the problem is, and the big issue, of course, is that the next 2 games are against really good sides. They have to win both of those to feel comfortable for the rest of the season. Chances are they go 1-1 and then beat Rajasthan, which means from then on in, they're going to have to win every game. Sunrisers, Hyderabad only played 1 game this week and they lost at Mumbai. Their next 3 games are versus Mumbai, at CSK, and at Gujarat. They scored 46 runs in their power play without losing any wickets against Mumbai in what was one of the more bizarre openings from them I've ever seen, and they're pretty much only about bizarre. Travis Head just couldn't get going. Abhishek Sharma and Heinrich Klaasen also didn't score at their normal speeds, and Mumbai were able to chase it down really comfortably. They've had 2 great power plays with the bat, but mostly they've just lost a lot of wickets. Travis Head has been averaging over 50 at a strike rate of 174, while Abhishek Sharma is 27 at 165, and yet those numbers sound really good, but I wonder if a little bit they're not inflated by a couple of games, and maybe they just haven't gone as long, although obviously Abhishek did in his last game. When we talk about the middle overs, they made 125 against Rajasthan and 135 versus Punjab, losing a combined 3 wickets in the 2 innings. But in every other innings, they lost 3 wickets, 4 wickets, or 6 in one occasion. Heinrich Klaasen has really disappointed, and poor Nitish Reddy seems to get himself in, and then just as you think he's going to hit a bunch of boundaries, he goes out. Aniket Verma has certainly showed a lot of promise, though. It's hard to tell how good they're batting at the death, because a couple of times they've been 8 and 9 wickets down by the time they've got there. And they did finish the chase against Punjab with 1.3 overs to spare. Overall, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, but their issue is not death batting. Their next 3 games are versus Mumbai, at CSK, and at Gujarat. They're just simply going to have to win all 3 of these games to make it through. I don't think there's anything else that we need to say here. They play Mumbai at home, which is handy. CSK away, so they are a chance of going 2-0, although Mumbai's playing really good cricket at the moment. But the at Gujarat game, I think, is the most important one. I just don't think they're playing consistently enough to go on a run from here, and I think they're just too far behind. They've got 7 more games, and they need to win 6 of them. Playing Mumbai, who's in form at the moment, is not ideal, and playing Gujarat away not long after that is not ideal. But if they go 3-0, I don't know, maybe they can go on a bit of a run. Rajasthan lost versus LSG and lost at DC. That means they have now lost 4 games in a row. And not only that, they managed to lose 2 games in a row where they required 9 runs off the final over. They lost in a super over against Delhi. They fell short by 2 runs against Lucknow in a game that they felt in control of for big periods of time. And the interesting thing with all this is that Rajasthan have been the best power play batting side. Their average score in the power play is 61, and they've only lost 7 wickets in 8 innings, 3 of which were against the Sunrisers while chasing 287. Jaiswal has 164 runs and an average of 55 and a strike rate of 145, while Samson has 147 runs at a strike rate of 150 and has gotten out only once. And every other batter who's come in to bat in the power play has also scored quick. Their problem has been the middle overs. They have never scored at 10 runs and over in this phase. Jaiswal and Parag both have 100 runs in the 10 overs after the power play, while striking at 136 and 130 respectively. And there's probably just an issue with one of those guys not striking quicker. Jaiswal has got stuck a couple of times, but he's also been involved in some chases. You look at Juve Jarrell and Sanju Samson, they've both got strike rates of 121 and 133 in the middle as well. Nitesh Rana has been the one who scored a little bit quicker, but he hasn't made as many runs. And Hetmeyer has also held down the order a little bit. At the death, Hetty has been pretty good, 100 runs at a strike rate of 159. But for him, and also for the league, that's a little bit slow at the moment. He's also getting out quite a bit. When Juve Jarrell gets to the death, we've seen a lot more action there. but he hasn't been able to take the team over the line in the last couple of games. Their next 3 games are at RCB versus Gujarat and versus Mumbai. And they can't afford to lose another game from here on in. I think it's probably completely gone. But they are playing RCB at home, so maybe they win that one, and then they've got a couple of home games after this. But with the fact that they have to win every single game from here on in, I just don't see that happening. CSK lost versus Mumbai this week. They lost by 9 wickets with 26 balls to spare. They started their season by winning against the same opponents. And that was a team that did not have Jasprit Bumrah or Hardik Pandya. And their net run rate is currently minus 1.392. Look, their opening has just been a bit of a mess. Rachin Ravindra has faced the most deliveries in the first 6 overs, but he scored only 106 runs, an average of 26.5, and a strike rate of 117. Gaikwad has been ruled out of the season, and they didn't even start with him as an opener. They've now gone with a couple of kids. Sheikh Rashid lines up really well for me. I like the way he moves into the ball. And Ayush Matres has a wonderful mustache, so I'm definitely going to back him on that. But I love the way that he went about his innings as well. But this is the fact that they've got 2 young players at the top kind of tells you that they're rebuilding. And none of the batters have managed to get going after the power play either. Shivam Dubey averages 36 at a strike rate of only 131. Spinners are bowling better to him, the quicks are bowling better to him, and he's got to work this out. Jadeja is scoring at a run of ball from over 7 to 16, while Vijay Shankar and Rachin Ravindra have just been slow. MS Dhoni can still smack the ball, but a majority of his runs have come once the game was already lost, although he has won 1 for them. Jadeja has struck at 161 in the final 4 overs, while Dubey's going at 138. That's a normal sort of number for Jadeja. That is not a normal number for Shivam Dubey. A comeback is still mathematically possible. One of the big issues in making a comeback at the moment is there are 7 teams who still have a playoff chance and have played infrequent but good cricket at different times depending on that level of cricket. So if you're going to make the comeback, you actually need to do it against very good sides because you can't play yourself. But the next game is versus Sunrisers. So if they win that, they still won't go anywhere this season. They're already looking to next season, let's be honest. Which is the smart thing to do, and I completely support them for it. But they play a bunch of other games, but no one cares. It's done. So let us look at our entire list. Gujarat are number 1 for 2 reasons. Gujarat are number 1 as I think they might be as good as Delhi and RCB, not better. However, I'm upgrading them to the first position because Rashid Khan bowled well in the last game. With an automatic top 3 and Rashid Khan in any kind of form, this suddenly looks like a very special side. They also have a pretty easy next 3 games, which might even elevate them to a tier on their own at the moment. Delhi and RCB would be in the next tier for me. I have no strong opinions on either being higher, but RCB have the easier next few games. They actually play each other soon. It might be that game that really gives us a good idea. The next tier is LSG, Mumbai, and Punjab. I almost put Mumbai at 4, but they have had an easy couple of games of recent times, and I want to see them against a slightly stronger opponent again. LSG has the toughest run of the 3 coming up, so it could be next time they are the team at 6 here. However, I've been waiting for the LSG drop all year, and they haven't. Punjab have slipped, not because of the loss to RCB, but more because I think Mumbai are playing better right now, but all 3 teams feel on a similar level to me. KKR, though, are in a tier of their own. Let's call it the better than mathematically possible tier. They can make the playoffs, though it would take quite a run, and are probably way better than the teams below them. Then you have the bottom 3 sides. CSK and RR are flirting with rebuilding already. Sunrisers might be thinking about next year, but it's more confusing for them as their squad is still good. It's their form that is terrible. That is it for the halfway through-ish power rankings. As always, it's basically perfect, so you find it very hard to argue with. Like, subscribe, come back for all the other content we do, check out our live channel, all those things, and tell your mum about us.